Professor Nic Jones, thank you very much indeed.
No,
I know you're busy, and the conference, the NCRI, is on your doorstep in Liverpool, just up the road, and it's always most difficult to get along to the meeting when you're nearby. The Manchester Cancer Centre is making a big announcement about this new phase 1, phase 2 translational science unit. Massive, it's by the sound of it, 75 beds and everything on
It's going to
site.
be one of the biggest in the world, so it's going to be really, really huge, and you know, a really fantastic opportunity for us in Manchester. And it's part of a kind of longer-term plan that we have in Manchester. So, as you know very well, we initiated the Manchester Cancer Research Centre 5 years ago. Yeah. And the whole idea of that was to really integrate our cancer research efforts from very basic research right through to the clinic. And I think over the last 5 years we've done that, you know, very successfully. We've changed the culture. We really work very closely together. And we helped enormously by the fact that a lot of the research that we do is on the doorstep of the Christie Hospital, which is a huge cancer-specific hospital, and you know, over 12,000 new patients per year, which presents a huge opportunity for us in terms of the translational and clinical research that we can follow. So we're putting a lot of effort into early clinical trials, but linking those trials with biomarker research. So it's very important that we have the translational laboratory-based research linking in with the early phase clinical trials that we do.
And the link is the biobank?
The biobank is part of that, but a lot of it is developing new biomarker assays, identifying new biomarkers, and then validating new biomarkers. Some of these are bloodborne. Also exploring, for example, circulating tumor cells and so on to see whether they'll be really good surrogate biomarkers or biopsies for the future. So we really put a big effort in terms of ensuring that what we do is synergistic between the clinical research development, which the new facility is a really great manifestation of, and the laboratory development, which is all about really maximizing the information we get out of the clinical trials. And you know, as you know too well, it's a fantastically exciting period that we're in cancer research, where mechanism-based therapies now are coming through and are being tested for the first time in the clinic.
And there's no shortage of molecules.
And there's no shortage of molecules, but the big shortage was our capacity to take on more and more interesting trials. So about 3-4 years ago, we started discussions about how we were going to increase our capacity. And that ultimately led to the development of this new treatment center that the Christie is building. And part of that treatment center is this new phase 1/2 translational unit. So that's going to increase our capacity threefold. It'll be really, you know, as I say, one of the biggest dedicated trial units in the world. But more importantly, it's been designed in such a way that the translational aspect of the trials is really focused on. So there'll be facilities there for obviously taking the appropriate samples at the appropriate times during the trials.
And Helen Ferns told me it was also designed with the patient in mind,
Absolutely.
Rather than the doctor and the scientist, and that's very, very refreshing.
Yeah, and the really great thing as well is that, you know, another part of this building is chemotherapy service and increasing the capacity for chemotherapy service. And so it's great that you have in the same building, you know, increased capacity in chemotherapy service, but also increased capacity in clinical trials. And a lot of the facilities and a lot of the patient facilities and so on are shared between those two activities. So it's very much as an integrated kind of approach. And I think a really good example of how the NHS Trust and the research kind of community can work very effectively together and develop a facility or facilities that really are truly integrated. The other great thing about it is that we're really future-proofing, because in the future, more and more chemotherapy will be delivered out in the region, not necessarily at the tertiary centre. So that potentially will open up even more space in the future for developing clinical trials. So, you know, it's very much part of our kind of philosophy of really focusing on translational research, making sure that the opportunities that we have with the patient numbers, with the very large research base, that we really maximize those opportunities and really, I guess, develop this whole approach towards personalized medicine, which is so exciting right now. I mean, I think
I share all of that. I think it's terrific, and well done, Manchester. The Paterson has long been top-notch in basic science, and also in translational science. You know, there's been a good record of clinical pharmacology and so on. I gather you're interested in getting some drug discovery
absolutely
stimulated, and then maybe taking your own Manchester molecules into Manchester patients in the Manchester treatment centre.
Absolutely. So last year we initiated a drug discovery centre. So it's well funded by Cancer Research UK. We recruited a guy out of AstraZeneca who's been there and done it, so to speak, and developed drugs which are now in the clinic, and some of them look very promising. So this is a long-term endeavour that we have, but it links in with the development of the imaging centre on the site, with the development of the pharmacology that we have, and development of the early phase clinical trial unit. So we really are taking a kind of comprehensive, integrated approach to the cancer research that we're developing. From the very basic research, we still have to do basic research. Sure. We still need more and more understanding of the disease, but applying that information is the key. And we trying to set up the situation where we can do more and more of that on site, and therefore create an atmosphere where you have basic biologists linking with pharmacologists, with medicinal chemists, with informaticists, with the clinicians. So really a very multidisciplinary kind of culture and atmosphere.
And not all of the clinicians used to be involved in this in the past. It was traditionally the medical oncologist, but Tim Millage was telling me that one of your unique selling points is going to be testing molecules as radiosensitizers together with radiation therapy. I was at the ESTRO meeting in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago, and they were lamenting the fact that some molecules were being thrown out by pharma because they didn't make it the single agent cytotoxic type clever molecules. I suppose I should hang my head in shame, because it took us 10 years to get temozolomide into a radiosensitizing protocol, and now it's the standard therapy for gliomas, temozolomide plus radiation therapy. So that's really interesting because of the tradition of radiation therapy in the Christie.
Absolutely, and 50% of patients are still treated by radiotherapy, and so the opportunity there is to improve the level of that treatment. So part of that is again stratifying patients in terms of the radiotherapy that they can receive, and so we have quite a bit of work ongoing on the Christie side, trying to identify those patients that are more sensitive or more resistant to radiotherapy treatment, so we can really tailor the level of treatment appropriately to the patients. But then again, combination trials. Everybody talks about combination trials, but in the past it's mainly been different combinations of drugs. Now we're really beginning to think about the combination of drugs and radiation therapy. And I think that's a huge opportunity there, which really has been neglected within academic circles, but also within the pharmaceutical kind of industry over the last few years. But I think now it's changing. And again, we have a huge opportunity on the Christie to develop really innovative trials that are looking at those types of combinations. And I think they have huge promise in terms of really improving patient treatment.
And in this time of recession, it's fantastic to see something growing like this, and it's not cheap, but this is really going to offer the patients with cancer in the Northwest a internationally first-rate service, and congratulations. I think it's tremendous.
Okay, thanks. I'm very excited about what's going to happen in the future.
Good stuff. Thanks, Nick.
Okay, cheers.